All right, the next one is Stop Killing Games by Moist Critical. So, if you guys are not aware, there has been a long time petition for stopping. I don't want to put it in the wrong words. Hopefully he goes over it because I really don't want to say the wrong thing. But it basically, if I remember correctly, and it'll probably get addressed in the video, is a petition to stop video game companies from preventing people from playing the game once the servers for that game go offline. So, like, for example, if you played Overwatch, and Overwatch, they were like, you know what? End of life. We're done supporting Overwatch. You can no longer, like, we're done supporting it. Which would mean that you would no longer be able to play Overwatch. It would no longer be in a playable state, and you would lose access to all your skins that you or anything that you spent money on. You would lose access to that. And I think this is just about stopping publishers and developers from killing their games without some kind of recourse for the customer. I think. Or hopefully this video covers it, though.
You know what this is right here, pal? Huh, tough guy? You feeling lucky? Yeah, that's right. Spirit fingers. Do you know why? Because it's been about 30 hours since I last slept, and I've done 3 different intros, all of which crash and burned, and I am off my gourd, so now I'm going wacko mode.
30 hours? What have you been doing?
Even in my sleep-deprived state, I am still lucid enough to recognize how cattywampus the AAA gaming space has become. Like, the gaming industry has so many things that I have bitched and moaned about.
Dude, the AAA gaming industry is so unreliable nowadays. Most of the games they put out are just absolute trash. But the indie game sphere has just been never better.
Probably the biggest practice that I've been most vocal about, not exactly shy on, is the topic of you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah,
the
Ubisoft, yeah.
Motto. God rest that company's soul. What a pile of
Rest
dog
in
shit.
peace.
But it's not just
Oh
Ubisoft.
my god, I
that
just
has
bumped
become a prevalent
Rest in peace,
business
Ubisoft.
strategy across the gaming industry.
You were great once.
You will own nothing. You will be happy. You're basically... You come away with the idea of ownership of whatever games you purchase. I've worn this topic out more than a fleshlight in a frat house, but it is something I am very passionate
Dude.
about. The gaming industry is getting away with more and more garbage where they'll take a shit in your mouth and you're expected to thank them for adding some flavor to your taste buds. It's terrible. And there is an initiative that has been aiming to fight back against a lot of these practices that I think really need some big overhaul. And it's an initiative that I think a lot of you are probably very familiar with. It's called Stop Killing Games.
Yeah.
And I've followed it
Started
since
by
its
Ross.
inception. I've talked about it on
watched
stream
Ross
quite a few
lot
times,
before you
though
did it.
This is my first video going over it. And I regret that now because I see it wasn't going as well as I thought it was. Admittedly, I didn't follow how successful the initiative was.
I think it's at 500,000
only that it was
signatures.
aiming to do good for consumers. And that it was taking proper steps legally to get there. And it was going through all of the right channels. And now today I watched a video from the guy that's spearheading this. His name is Ross. He posted a video called "The End of Stop Killing Games."
What do
where
people
he's
call
giving
him?
an update
They
on
call him
where everything's at
the English
and how it's
Asmongold.
kind of at the finish line here, with a lot of failure to show for it, with only a few other chances to fight back. Now, before getting into the weeds on the topic, I want to get this in the beginning because I imagine the vast majority of people won't watch the whole thing. I'm putting a link to the full video on Stop Killing Games, as well as a link to where you'd go to help support the Stop Killing Games initiative, because there's only a little bit of time left for the most important
it's near
parts
the end.
of it now that it's at the end. So if you know what the movement is and want to support it but didn't know where, the resources are in the description. Or
that's why I wanted to make sure I reacted to this video for you guys, because if it's near the end, I want to make sure we spread the word out as much as we possibly can.
if you want to get it right from like the source, I have a link to his video. But I want to go into it myself here because it is a topic that I do feel very strongly about. But for those that don't know anything about Stop Killing Games, I'm going to let him explain it in his own words, so that way you can get an actual, correct, informed explanation
Oh wait, did my Twitch stream crash? Hold on, pause.
of what the initiative is. And the reason I say it like that, kind of like fucking all, pinky out, snooty, is because a lot of people don't even really know what this is because of people like Pirate Software completely misrepresenting what the initiative was.
Pirate Software, dude. I remember watching this video of his, and he's definitely people do not like him. I don't know enough about him to give him any, I'm sure he's a good guy. I just think that from what I know, he's very poor, or pro corpa is what I think.
Refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers.
Okay, there you go.
Right there. The simplest, bare bones, birthday suit, butt-ass naked
That's the best way to explain
for what this is. Stop destroying things that people have paid money to own. I think that is a very understandable, very reasonable take.
Yeah.
Very agreeable. Now I want to quickly jump to a different spot in this video because I think it's important to have this in the beginning because it's something a lot of people have heard that comes from someone that is just wrong about it. It's the Pirate Software portion. Ross is addressing the video Pirate Software made many months ago. Ross even says that he didn't plan on doing that because he didn't want to be seen as using this for drama farming because it would start to make the movement look less of like a legitimate initiative and more.
It would have totally destroyed, any movement or the momentum that movement had. Because the people would have seen it as, they're not trying to fucking actually do something. They're fighting it with each other and they're using this as like a middle ground.
More of just like drama slop content type thing. But he finally starts talking about Pirate Software here because it's at the end of the life cycle of this initiative and it's not looking promising. So he's willing to do anything to try and set the record straight and hopefully start getting more momentum back to the movement because the damage Pirate Software did to it through his video was substantial.
This video came out right as we were building momentum. Then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single-player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them. And as much as they want it to be about specifically games where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. It's the first line on the website.
The man couldn't even read the first sentence.
Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative.
He didn't even get the Cliff Notes summary right. He missed all the QTEs and got the bad ending on understanding the initiative from the jump here.
Oh my god.
Ross is correct. This has nothing to do with just single-player only games that require an online connection, that when the online connection is severed, you lose access to the game. Like, yeah, that is included in all of this, but that's not like what the whole movement is about. And for some reason, Pirate Software is stun-locked on that, like fixated, as if that is the actual like meat and potatoes of Stop Killing Games. They need to be more specific in their language about it being single-player, always online connectivity games. when that's just not what it's about. Like, they're not being specific about that because that is not what they are specifically targeting. It is about the whole practice of destroying games that consumers have already purchased and having no end-of-life plans for games that are being sunset. So, for example, The Crew. The Crew is an example everyone is going to reference and
because they're
talk
still
about
being
because
sued.
Ubisoft is still currently in a lawsuit battling against it for what happened with this game. I've yapped about it quite a bit, so I'm not just going to regurgitate that. I'm sure a lot of you already know the story about it. But basically, you buy The Crew, Ubisoft pulls the plug on the servers, you can't play The Crew anymore, now it's just an old wet dream of what once was. And they are facing a lawsuit, and while this is in the umbrella of Stop Killing Games, it is not the only thing Stop Killing Games is referencing when it comes to this practice. Pirate Software is so hung up on it being single-player games that people lose access to, when that is a component of it, but not the entire focus.
Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single-player.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual.
That's not what it's saying. It's not saying that. It's not saying that.
That ever bought the game. That's what they're asking.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player
That's
offline.
not what they're saying.
No, dude.
Correct. No.
This part is more confusing than Finnegan's Wake.
That's not what they're saying.
Nowhere in anything on Stop Killing Games has this even been like a talking point from anyone besides Pirate Software. I don't know where he pieced this puzzle together.
Alright, hold on. Give me one sec. It's probably nice in her room now. I'm gonna turn off the AC for her. Yeah, it's good now. I'll turn it off.
Like I don't get it. Like, if I'm gonna try and like really reach here and give like a charitable explanation for this take, maybe he's extrapolating based on the idea that if publishers have to have end-of-life plans for their games, that includes MMOs, where once the game is getting sunset, you're pulling the plug on it, you would then need to turn the game over to the community in a playable state, an accessible state, like give the code to them. Thus, it'd turn it into a single-player experience, so the onus would be on the developers to rebalance their game to be a single-player experience for them.
What?
I guess. I have no idea. That still just doesn't make any sense.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, huh?
He's barking up with that thought process. I really don't know. Because Stop Killing Games at no point ever says any
My
of these...
cat is staring at me, waiting for me to get up. Let me show. Gee. You want to say something in the chat, Gee? You want to say something, Gee? You want to say something, Gee? Kitty. She wants to be fed. I'll feed her after the video. It's almost done. It's about time. Gee. No, you know what? Sorry, guys. Let me go ahead and go feed the cats real quick. Alright, I had to go feed my cat. We're back.
Multiplayer games need to be converted to single player. That really is outlandish.
It's
and the more I think
insane.
about it, like, the more nonsensical it becomes, because even in Pirate Software's hypothetical fanfic there, why would the developers need to rebalance the game? They would just turn over the code to the community and just it'd be in that state. They're no longer responsible for balancing the game. That's the whole point. They're not indefinitely supporting it. They would just be responsible of leaving the game in an accessible state to the community while they would shut down the servers on their end. Like,
dude, that sounds... I'm not gonna lie. That sounds like an absolute headache. Like, being a developer and you're done with the game, but you give the code to the community. Like, I feel like there's still... They would have to... I don't know how they could do that, man. I don't think they could get away with giving the code... Here's the thing, right? If the game no longer is supported by the developer, is it not considered abandonware at that point? If the developers have wiped their 5-finger fillets of the entire game, then wouldn't it be abandonware at that point? What's the definition of abandonware? What's the definition? Abandonware. Oops. Abandonware. I spelled Jesus Christ. Abandonware. Okay, so it is a term for software, typically video games, that are no longer for sale. So, yes, they would be considered abandonware. If the developer said, we're done supporting it, and if it's online only, then it should be classified as abandonware since you can't even play it anymore. You can't buy it. Of course, they could probably get away with that by, like, still selling it, but then putting that it doesn't work anyway. I don't know. It sounds like a headache.
Back through with a whole development team and, like, you know, tweak the game to be single player compatible. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I really do not understand that one. But apparently a lot of people latched onto that talking point from Pirate Software as something that Stop Killing Games was asking for and how unreasonable it was. Which, if that's what Stop Killing Games was asking for, it would be unreasonable.
Yeah, it would be.
But that's not what it's asking for.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for.
I know this part is once again just reinforcing that he doesn't know what the Stop Killing Games movement is about, but I have to just show you this because it is so fascinating, because he himself literally calls out that Stop Killing Games at no point explicitly mentions single-player always-online games or anything like that. And for some reason, instead of following the breadcrumbs that would naturally lead him to the conclusion of, oh, maybe I misunderstood, maybe, because it's absent here, that's not what this is actually about. Instead, he uses it as a criticism against the Stop Killing Games initiative entirely, saying it's just too vague, it's way too vague. The reason it is not explicitly stated there is because that is not what the whole initiative is about. It is not specifically targeting that thing that you keep saying that it is. I don't know how that never clicked.
But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
1 million views.
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
How it's about single player games are advertised. What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality.
That's not what it is.
And doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
This is a really strong section from Ross here, because the clips that you saw moments ago were from his stream. When he took more time to watch it and digest it, he still came back in that video misrepresenting it. Like, it never dawned on him. Like, on stream, he could write it off as like, oh, he didn't grasp it in the moment, maybe later on he did. Well, then he made the video where
it's totally different.
Was talking about things that are just not what Stop Killing Games was about, and this was the one that really blew up and really started to kind of dismantle the Stop Killing Games momentum.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing wrong now.
Oh my God.
We're not against them existing. We're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer.
Pirate Software then goes on to talk about like the business practice of misleading consumers into thinking that what they're buying is a product as opposed to a license.
Oh god,
to a
here we
product,
go. The product
which
versus
is a
license.
totally
So
separate thing.
yeah,
And then he
it's-
criticizes Stop
oh my
Killing Games for
God.
not being specific about that thing that he is bringing up, as opposed to what Stop Killing Games is talking
My
about. So he's
God.
using that against them for some reason. And then Ross goes into like the license talk.
Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people.
Yeah.
Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason.
Yeah. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get rid of this. This is stupid, by the way. This should not be a thing. Reserves the right to terminate this agreement at any time for any reason or for no reason. That shit, that right there, that should not be a thing. That should not be a thing. That right there, for no reason, without telling you. They don't have to tell you.
That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to
Yeah.
consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely.
Yeah, get rid of it.
This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for, or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends.
Imagine buying a car. You saved all that money. You're finally buying a car. You moved out of your mom's basement. You moved out of your grandparents' basement. You finally got the job. You've been working your ass off. You got that car. Finally. It is yours. However, then the car company came along later, 8 years, 9 years from now. You still have that car. You've been taking care of it. You've been making sure it's still good. It's got tons of miles on it, but you love that car. And the car company says, actually, we're taking that back from you. We're not giving you your money back. Oh, by the way, get fucked, nerd.
The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those.
He's exactly right. That is a huge problem. Now, Pirate Software is correct here about these companies that will mislead consumers through this fraudulent advertising on what you're actually buying, because in a lot of cases, you don't own any of the shit that you're buying.
Yep.
It is pretty much
license.
a rental.
Yeah.
You get a permission slip to access the content. That is an issue. And not making it abundantly clear to consumers that that is what you are buying is a problem. And so too is...
Yeah, can you imagine if you went on Steam? If you went onto Steam and you want to buy a game, doesn't matter what game it is. I'm just gonna just fucking okay. That's free to play. Okay. We want Oblivion, and pause it, and we go to buy, right? And it doesn't say, oh, if it said, oh, you are not paying to own the game, you are paying to rent the game, and we can take it away from you at any time or any point. Nobody would buy it that way. Nobody would buy it that way. Nobody would buy it.
The actual agreements, as Ross demonstrates with Blizzard, where it says they can just completely terminate it for no reason at all. It really does go against the basic idea of commerce entirely. Video games are in a totally different ball game when it comes to that, because half the time you don't realize that you're just buying an admission ticket to a game.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
You're not actually buying the game. You also don't know how long that's going to last. Again, to go back to Concord, that shit lasted less than a fucking, fucking rainstorm.
Yeah, so if you loved Concord, okay. If you wanted to go back and play Concord way later, you can't, because it was online only. You can never relive it. You can never play it again, even though you spent $60 to $80 on it. It is no longer yours to play. You don't have it. It's not yours.
Basically, like there is just so many problems.
So I played a lot of Destiny 2, but apparently I haven't played Destiny 2 since my PS4 days. Apparently, the original Destiny 2 campaign isn't even playable anymore. You can't even play the original campaign that Destiny 2 had. Wow. Imagine that, dude. It's gone. You can't even play it.
So I don't know why Pirate Software would be so harsh on Stop Killing Games for not addressing specific things that he himself is bringing up or making up in regards to it. It just doesn't compute. It really is a video that did significant damage to an actually positive initiative that aimed to help consumers in the video game space.
Yeah.
All based on his complete misrepresentation of it, which was a complete mess.
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out.
That's the last clip I want to show from this section on the Pirate Software video, but it's a very important one because this is something a lot of people also think the Stop Killing Games initiative is about, where developers, publishers will have to support their games forever. Like, until the fucking heat death of the universe, they'll have to support these games under the initiative. When that is not the case. It is very simply asking that when the game has reached the end of its life cycle, the publishers, developers don't want to work on it any longer, to turn it over to the community to still be in a playable, accessible state so the product can still exist.
Yep.
There is some more nuance, obviously, to how that works, given...
That is something that lawyers and people are going to have to figure out exactly what that means. But there's a reason why we still are able to watch movies from like the 30s and the 40s. It's because they still are able to be watched. Games are... Where we're going with games is we're never going to be able to relive those days if we don't stop developers from killing or publishers from killing the game. We won't be able to go back and watch it like we could in old 40s, 50s movie.
Like publisher developer licensing and a lot of like the code, the binary, that kind of thing. There is a lot at play under the hood there, of course, but it is something that Stop Killing Games isn't naive to, and it is something that is talked about. But I'm not going to dive too deep into it.
They were just
you to check more on
just
it.
trying to get the word out there.
Belief that it is about endlessly supporting a live service game, even when it makes no sense to do so and it's beyond dead and in the dirt, is ridiculous. Because that is not what it is asking for, and a lot of people think that it is. It's not. Pirate Software got that wrong as well. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it, but as mentioned in the beginning, most of Stop Killing Games hasn't been successful in getting change. And Ross has dedicated so much of his life to this, and it's clearly taken a big toll. Now he's doing everything he can for this last-ditch push to try and help. And there are two big things coming up that can do so. And it's what I linked at the very beginning of the at the very beginning of the video.
Oh god, I got it now. No.
Resources in the description. It's in regards to this.
One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before Parliament. Though, keeping it real, I'm not terribly optimistic about this one, since the government response has been a mess by every definition.
Yikes.
But the one that has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries. And we've only made it just under halfway. What a lot of people don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction, is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason. Or Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms and consumer contracts.
That is so
if
broad.
that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void.
He goes on to explain how powerful that can be because of what a mess that is. Because there is so much gray area with how the video games currently operate in regards to those protections, it would be a legal headache that would require an analysis of the laws or implementation of new laws that could lead to, hopefully, an improvement when it comes to gaming. So the big hurdle was the signatures, needing 1 million, and currently it's at like 460,000. So
what is it at right now? Is it down here? Support an initiative. What's it at? I don't have 576,000. I was gonna say million. 576,000 signatures now. Still not where we need to be. It's getting there, but it's way better. This shit's giving them, like... I mean, it's closer. Like, all this shit that's happened with the Stop Killing Games stuff, it's like 100,000 signatures more now since Charlie Stone talked about it. But it's still not at 1 million. It just sucks that unless we live in the EU, we can't support it. We can't support it being here in America, or it sucks. But I'm doing what I can. I'm spreading the message. Make sure that we post this video up and stuff like that. So, Sophia, right now we are reacting to Stop Killing Games.
Reach the threshold. I've been very vocal from the very beginning about how little faith I have in petitions. But that's just from the perspective of an American. In America, petitions are more worthless than toilet paper.
Yeah.
You're better off just writing what you want on a note to Santa Claus and shipping it to the North Pole than you are doing anything with a petition in this country.
Well, okay, to be fair, okay. I remember when the Sonic movie or the Sonic trailer was being shown, in the ugly-ass Sonic that they showed in the trailer, and there was enough public outrage where they were like, we have to fix it. But that wasn't a petition. There probably was a petition for it, but yeah, okay.
Country. I don't know how different it is in the EU. Maybe it really is this powerful there that could lead to substantial change and improvement when it comes to games and preservation and all of what we've already talked about. Hopefully, I mean, that's really all that's left for the Stop Killing Games initiative, which sucks, but that's the position that it's in, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad.
And I wanted to talk about it because
there's still a chance.
I really want to see something change with the games industry. I've said that so many times recently, but it's in such a sorry state. I mean, I'm talking big budget AAA space.
Yeah, indies
are absolutely crushing it, absolutely golden right now in the golden age of indie games, but overall, in the big budget games and the way the industry keeps pushing things, it sucks. So I wanted to talk about Stop Killing Games here. Hopefully things can turn around and maybe a huge W's around the corner for the Stop Killing Games initiative. We'll see. But anyway, I want to commend Ross for his hard work spearheading all of this for so long. And that's really about it. See ya.
All right, guys. Make sure you give him a like and a follow and a sub. You already know Charlie. He's been spreading the message wide and clear. Almost at 3 million views right now. I'm going to go ahead and post this video in the chat. You guys already know what to do. Make sure you go like the video, sub if you aren't subbed already. And really try to spread this message out there. Share the Stop Killing Games initiative if you give a shit. Right? Especially you guys on YouTube. If you guys wanted to hit me up, we are live. We are usually live on Kick and Twitch. A link to that is in the description. But if you guys share this video, share Penguin's video, go to Ross's video, share that one. We want to see if we can. There's a chance we can make it happen, but we won't know unless we try. So